Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or older in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard. Second one.
It's all on me. Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's May 27th, 2025, and it's episode 119.
Don't tell me about your rough weekend now. We're recording, you putz.
He's in the same clothes he was wearing last week, so I'm
Well, it was a holiday.
Yeah,
I kind of did the same thing, meeting some new neighbors of our friends and just wonderful people. We had a terrific time and ate too much and had too many adult malted beverages to go with all the food. So,
at a certain age, it makes it kind of tough. You just don't want to.
I'm a little slow today.
Well, that alcohol does kind of like kill brain cells. So I completely understand.
I like that Stephen, his eyes were open. It didn't seem like there was any focusing going on.
Nobody home. The lights are on. Nobody's home. Oh my gosh.
He's been really good lately. We haven't heard much from him because he's been on the pretty much straight and narrow, and it appears that went away this weekend.
The wagon lost a passenger, it seems like.
Yes, it did. Well, and you had, so that was my holiday stuff last week. And then you had two little twin girls that you went to a birthday party.
Yeah, in my backyard, thankfully.
You didn't have to go far.
I did have to blow up some water things out there, but I mean, it kept me away from people, really is the key to that, which is good. No, actually, we had some really nice people come over, and it was actually one of the most enjoyable parties that we've had in my backyard. A lot of times, there's always somebody that kind of gets on my last nerve, but everybody was pretty good. So turned out good. They're 2 years old now, and they're just wide open. So. Terrible twos. Yeah, it's there's a lot of T words that go with that, I suppose. But
the conversations will get funner.
Oh, they are already getting that way. Every day it's something new. Anyway, I'm sure that y'all saw about the patriarch of Duck Dynasty, Phil Robertson. He passed away the other day at 79 years old. We actually did see the majority of those shows when they were on. Was it A&E? I think it was on A&E.
Yeah, something like that. And I don't know. I tried watching a couple of shows, and it would always be after about 10 minutes. It's like, okay, moving on. What else is there? It just wasn't something that floated my boat, I guess, for whatever reason.
You ended up kind of knowing the characters and, his two sons and how they fight with each other. It was just kind of like, it was good, clean, kind of fun. It wasn't anything you'd be riveted to, but I mean, it'd be like nice to have in the background. So,
his granddaughter, that was on Dancing with the Stars was quite a wonderful young lady.
And she's still doing stuff today. Yeah.
Yeah. And very bright, very articulate. It's kind of refreshing to see that in a youngster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's
and married and has a little one already.
Does she?
Something like that.
Didn't even know that. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm trying to remember her name.
I can't
I'm lucky I can remember
either.
mine today.
Anyway, the more I learned about Phil as time went on, the more I wanted to listen to him. I want to be around people whose, desire to follow Jesus is kind of like the main theme of their life, and it kind of feeds your soul being around people like that. A guy named Casey Barker, who has an online ministry. I'd never heard of him before this week, be honest with you, but he gave a short eulogy on his socials, and it was really good. So I wanted to share that with you.
Phil Robertson passed away tonight. And I got to admit, he was one of the men of God that I really looked up to because he was the perfect example of what Jesus came to do. He was that wretched, evil man that turned from his ways and put his faith in Jesus and changed the world. Reached millions of people with his simple life and example of what it means to follow Jesus. Raised a family and became like a tree planted by the water. Saw his kids, his grandkids come to know the Lord. Huge family. and reached millions with his simple message of Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Uncompromising, unwilling to bend for the culture, unwilling to bend for the money, unwilling to bend for the fame. Became famous and never let it get to his head. Lived a simple life with his wife, and when the world said, "You must change with us," he said, "I will not." He stood by the word of God. Truly left a legacy. You see, the things of this world pass away. The money passes away. Phil was a wealthy man. And at the end of the day, none of us remember him because he was a wealthy man. We remember him because of what he stood for, because he was a man of integrity, because he was a man of the word. He was a man who was uncompromising. He was a man who represented America, represented freedom, represented independence. He could have died a wealthy man and compromised in those moral areas, and we wouldn't remember him right now. But the nation is sad because he was a man that inspired millions to follow Jesus and pursue freedom. At the end of the day, what you do and what you have means nothing. It's what you stand for.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. If you haven't seen his biography, it's called The Blind, and I know it's been on Fox Nation, but I know it's on other places. I think it might even be on YouTube. But it's his brutal, honest story about how he got where he was, and he was not. And just like this guy said, that wasn't always a great guy. He went through some really rough times of his own making. I mean, he certainly wasn't when he was younger. And according to The Blind, he was the number one quarterback at LSU when Brett Favre was number 2. I thought that was just fascinating. You find that out in the movie. But anyway, R.I.P. Phil Robertson. We appreciate your legacy. So,
his honesty when he's been asked questions about something, it's like, really, you'd ask me something that stupid, and then he'd proceed to explain why. You got to be kidding me.
Smart guy, man. Yeah, he understood politics. He understood a lot of things.
Yep.
So, not one of those regular old rednecks like a lot of people kind of wrote him off as. He was very smart. So, I give the younger generation a hard time. I do this all the time, and on the podcast, in my personal life, all the time.
Well, it's easy to do, for crying out loud. I mean, that's like shooting fish in a barrel. Exactly. Come on.
They got to be the dumbest ever, even common sense wise, and even with access to all the information that we have. But maybe some of that disdain has been misplaced. Maybe disdain's not the right word, but allow me to explain. Remember the sitcoms of the 70s, 60s, and I haven't even talked to Richard about this. This is all going to be new to him. The sitcoms in the 60s and maybe the early 70s, the song that introduced the show every week, a lot of times, was a brief synopsis of what the show was all about.
One knock on my door.
See, anyway. I forgot about that one, but I've got a little montage of intros for you, giving you examples of what that is.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed.
Here's the story of a lovely lady who was bringing up 3 very lovely girls. All of them had hair of gold, like their mother, the youngest one in curls.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point aboard this tiny ship.
Anyway, they told the whole story every time, just in case something you got hit in the head during the week or whatever, and you forgot what the show was all about.
What is this show about? After 5 years, it's still the same theme song. Okay, well, it's there for a reason. Yes, Oliver. I've seen. I was mouthing the ones I
You
could
sure
hear.
were. Even the Mr. Ed one, which was very impressive to me. I knew the tone of the Mr. Ed one, but I couldn't tell you the words.
Famous Mr. Ed. Wilbur. Yeah, no, I saw all those. I watched a lot of them. I think a lot of the Mr. Eds, I'm trying to remember. That was one that would be on like when you came home after school.
Yeah.
Just like I saw the originals because it was on at night, but then you got to see all the episodes would come on like 2 in a row or type thing after school rerun stuff.
Well, they had a lot of things for after school kids back then. Yeah,
that was, I mean, Mr. Ed was about as innocent. There was no, I mean, it just was what it was.
Right,
so
exactly.
It was a talking horse who, by the way, lived to be, I think he made it somewhere close to 30 or a little over 30 years old.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he got taken very good care of.
So apparently, just because he was talkative and rich didn't mean that it went to his head. He didn't jump into cocaine or anything, and so
he just had to get stronger glasses,
all.
for his reading.
That's true. That's true.
How did he get those on?
It's
he was wearing them, but how did he get them on?
Special horseshoes that they put on there. They had the opposing thumbs on the horseshoes. It had to be what it was.
It was one of those things you didn't question. He's just got his glasses on reading, see?
My favorite one out of all that montage was Gilligan's Island. I saw every show. That only ran 3 years, 64
only 3
to
years,
67.
but it ran about 10 years in reruns after school.
Easily. I probably saw every episode 3 times, easily.
I think Ginger's the only one left.
Is she really? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I heard about Marianne dying not a few years ago. Anyway, Rush Limbaugh actually interviewed her one time. But she was a brilliant lady. Brilliantly. I was always a Marianne person. I don't know, but most everybody.
I didn't care for the high maintenance of Ginger.
Yeah,
I was not a Ginger person.
And this is how she just wasn't. She wasn't even viable to me. But anyway.
She was just a sweetie.
Yeah, that's all.
Love me.
I heard this week the U.S. Coast Guard. Now get this: back in the 1960s, between 64 and 67, during the 3 years it was on prime time, the U.S. Coast Guard got on average for those 3 years 2,500 handwritten letters asking them why those poor people had not been rescued yet. You've got to be kidding me.
Serious? You don't know that that's all on a soundstage set when they're talking and it echoes? Most islands, you're not going to hear an echo. Just saying, people.
I mean, the captain was always obese the whole time. And why wouldn't he have lost weight? Seems like that would have been something that happened and everybody looked freshly showered.
Very good fish that had a lot of extra fat on it. I don't know.
I don't know either. 2,500 handwritten letters a week.
Oh my gosh. A week for 3 years.
For 3 years. That was the average. That's incredible to me. I don't know. We had to share that because that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no, I was familiar with all of those shows, and I think I knew all of their theme songs, which means I watched them way too much.
Well,
I only wrote 5 letters. I don't know why they said there were so many.
Well, everybody followed your lead, apparently.
It would be, you're watching and go, really? That's why you didn't? You can make a radio out of coconuts, but what the...
Yeah, you couldn't get off the dang island. Come on now. He had the professor. I mean, I don't understand. But a lot of those theme songs, even without the words to them, it's like the My Three Sons theme song. I mean, that could have popped up in my head at any given time up until the last decade or so. But I mean, those theme songs are so catchy. The TV was just so much better, apparently, because it fooled a lot of people into thinking it was real.
You have to write letters. Why haven't you rescued them? Really? Seriously?
Really?
The minnow would be lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those poor people were lost out there. Let's get to one more story before we go to break. Seemingly after the election and before Uncle Joe lumbered out the door of the White House, the spigot of money and pardons got turned on. I know. I had to write that down because I thought of that. It's like, that's a pretty good
I'm not
line.
sure about lumbering. Shuffling, maybe?
Shuffling. Maybe that's the word I should have been shooting for. Anyway, this is Senator John Kennedy asking Energy Secretary Chris Wright about that period of time, which was shocking.
Mr. Secretary, I want to go back to some of your earlier testimony, be sure I heard it correctly. The 76-day period you're talking about, that's the period between the time that President Trump was elected and President Biden left office. Is that right?
That is correct.
And during that short period of time, 76 days, how much taxpayer money went out the door of the Department of Energy?
From the Loan Program Office in loans and commitments, $93 billion. Well over twice as much as in the previous 15 years.
How do you vet and do due diligence on a loan in 76 days? One loan, much less $93 billion. How do you do it?
I think it's probably pretty clear it wasn't done in many cases. As I mentioned, there was lots of funds that have gone out the door and commitments that were made from businesses that provided no business plan, no numbers about their own financial solvency or how this project
So you're telling
work.
me that the Department of Energy, in the 76-day period before their boss was going to leave office, gave or loaned money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct.
No financials?
Correct. A number of those were were before the 76-day period as well. I've come in with great concern about how this institution, this great American institution, has been run and how American taxpayer money has been handled.
And hopefully that gets better. I mean,
it's
incredible.
Senator Kennedy wasn't even being funny about it because he was so PO'd over it. It's like, this is, like I was saying, I could remember it was close to $100 billion. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And it's like, hey, you know what? The Energy Department, I'll turn down my thermostat. Can I have $1 billion, please? I need just a little bit. Maybe, let's go easy and make it $500,000. It'll be fine.
And I wonder if they do investigation. I wonder if they're even going to find that these entities were like a fly-by-night LLC that just asked for money. Somebody that was related
and
to
it
the
would
Bidens,
generally, somebody who understands how that works would be somebody in Congress
government.
that has been doing kind of that stuff.
Yeah. And that's why all these congressmen are rich. They know the system, and the rest of us pay for it. So it's really, really, really sad. Hopefully, we'll see people in the handcuffs getting the perp walked, but I don't expect it, but I hope for it. So hopefully we'll see. We are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from fellow podcaster Tim Poole about and former leftist Tim Poole and how he views the left versus the right, especially when trying to debate ideas. So it's pretty interesting. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
This is what happens when you mix opinionated old guys and microphones. Stay off my lawn. We'll be right back.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
More than any neon sign or exploding scoreboard ever could, your chrome dome cover says, "Hey guys, look at me."
What could you be thinking?
You think it looks natural, but it couldn't look phonier if it had a chin strap.
Couldn't fool a blind man.
Made of space-age fibers, it can repel anything. Rain, wind, snow, and especially young women.
I don't think so.
So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, Mr. Stud in a Rug. Then crack open another for that thing on your head.
I don't think it's on straight.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
These buttons get stuck sometimes. Oh, man. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2. And here we go. The fantastic podcaster Tim Poole, which I only ran across him about 2 years ago, and he's He's really, really good. He is a fellow lefty, as Richard enlightened me about when we talked about him before. And he was being interviewed by a couple of weeks ago by a couple of British guys. I don't even know who they are. I tried to find out who they were, but I couldn't find out. But he was talking about the difference today between interviewing Republicans and interviewing Democrats.
If you can even get a Democrat on your show to interview them.
He did say that too. Yeah. Here's his response. It's really, really good.
You say the left is a cult.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the whole of the left. Let's be fair. I can do the same thing with the right. And I can say, look, they're completely insane. Look at these nutbags on Twitter.
You'd be wrong.
Really?
How is it that the popular vote winner, Donald Trump, was a Democrat? Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, former Democrat that I supported in 2020. And now the Republican MAGA movement, not the neocons, is an eclectic bunch of diverse views which debate each other. Charlie Kirk, Christian conservative, invites moderate pro-choice Tim Poole onto his stage to discuss those views to the public. On the left, what do you think would happen if you went and opposed their views at a public forum? You'd be threatened with violence. Booking liberals to come on my show or any other show, people in this
We
space,
have the same problem.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk.
I can sit in front of a libertarian like Dave Smith and Charlie Kirk at the same time, and we leave with beers in our hands, smiles on our faces. And Dave will say, Charlie, I really do appreciate it. I think you do good work. I know we disagree. The left doesn't do that. They firebomb your buildings. You could not define what they believe. It's impossible.
It is. If you don't agree with them, you're the devil himself or Hitler.
Oh,
or whatever.
they'll try to shout you down. They'll try to just keep pushing their narrative that's not right, but they are going to keep pushing it. Even when you point out, here is the actual facts. No, they don't like facts.
No.
Wait, you can't do that.
Yeah, facts are that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
I just don't know. But that's why we've
Beers
never...
in their hand and smiles on their faces and, hey, you do good work. I may not agree with everything. You're a good guy.
But I think we could do that if we had a liberal on here that was and obviously people we've talked to before, we don't agree on everything. Corey even said that when we interviewed him. Some things that you say that I don't agree with, which is fine. We didn't even talk about what that was. I don't care. I mean, I like that he thinks for himself. I like when people actually think for themselves. And when you think for yourself, you're not going to agree with people that maybe you're being interviewed by or just people you meet. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's but he's right. Trying to find someone who's heavy left leaning to come on your show to talk about stuff. They don't seek out conservative to go over the show. My lovely bride finally listened to an entire episode because I forced her to. I tied her down and said, "Here it is." We were sitting out the other day and it popped up last week's episode. And I said, well, she always asks when I'm done, go up and back out and into the main portion of
the living quarters.
My spacious home. Yeah. Anyway, she goes, so what'd you guys talk about? And I go, just a minute. And I bring up the email with all the stuff in it to tell her. I said, since you're asking about it, it literally wasn't 10 minutes later, it popped up. She listened to the whole show. And she said, what I like about it is, which is a rare review, she's very honest when it comes to anything I do with voiceover stuff, is we have clips. This is the facts. This is what they actually said. And then we talk about what the clip was and maybe what our opinions of it. And then we go on to the next thing. She goes, I really like that. It was very engaging. She goes, you were a little weird at times, but that's what she said. I'm going, what? That is just, I am so heartbroken. But yeah.
You should have just said, ow, what was that? My knicker's gotten a knot.
Yeah, it's like, what? I've never heard that before. But yeah, and that's why, folks, we're in 41 countries and whatever is, and we're doing 120 next week. It's people are listening because this is kind of what's happening in the news, and we try to bring it out. Cannot get a lefty to come on because they don't have facts.
No, definitely not. And really, I don't care whose toes I step on if my opinion doesn't, Donald Trump, I mean, in this big, beautiful bill, he asked for the debt ceiling to be raised $5 trillion. I'm like, wait a minute, hang on a second. I don't, so I mean, until that gets explained to me and I understand
I'm with you.
Why that would be a good thing, I'm not happy with that at all.
Yeah, I go, say what? Wait a minute. I thought we were reducing the debt. there's an issue here.
Exactly.
One of these things is not like the other.
At least for the first 80 or 90 days, I think Doge was finding $4 billion a day in waste. So it's like, why is the budget still so high, and why do we have to raise the debt ceiling? It just seems it's backwards to me. So anyway, I don't care who I don't agree with, which is fine. I mean, because we grew up in an era where you could disagree and not have it wasn't a big thing. I've got friends that I've known since I was a teenager that won't talk to me because I'm not a liberal. Okay.
Enjoy friends that I do the different radio shows that are turned into a stage production. And I've done like 6 of them or something like that. And the director and her husband there, and I'm helping get all the stuff off of the car and taking in our little sets and chairs and all that stuff. And he goes, you know what? He goes, for a conservative, you're all right. And it's one of those things where I know they're lefties, and you're welcome to have your opinion. They never try to shove it on me, so I really don't care. I don't shove my opinion on them. No. Just try to be a good person and take care of things. And that's as high a compliment from a lefty as you're ever going to get. You know what? So. You're just okay for a.
That's good enough for me too. I'm with you.
Yep. I just laughed at him and go, well, good to know. And we were chuckling about it, and they're just good people. So
normally they won't ask your opinion on things just because, it's like a lot of times they don't. From the man on the street interview things that I've seen where they're talking to the basic leftist that is out there protesting this or that or whatever. And it's like, they really don't have any depth to why they believe what they believe. And so, I mean, they don't want to engage with somebody who might be informed. I think it's
all about feelings. Yeah. Nothing more than feelings. Yeah. Whatever. That feelings ain't gonna pay the piper here, pal.
Absolutely. You can't run a country on feelings. It has never worked. Speaking of feelings, my feelings for Hakeem Jeffries has not changed.
What a segue. I loved it. That was just almost professional.
I'm working on it. I'm pulling it out as we speak. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries testified in front of a committee in D.C. last week, and he said this:
a dime's worth of benefits from Medicaid.
Oops.
And for SNAP benefits, not a single undocumented immigrant in this country gets a dime in federal taxpayer dollars for any part of comprehensive Medicaid coverage. Not one.
Not one. Sure.
We have someone that has proof to the contrary. Yes. Might we add?
Yeah, he actually sped up the clips, and I really didn't like that, so I wrote him down real quick. Some of the things that he's got. Fox News interviewed Gavin Newsom on live TV, and he blamed Trump for the Medicaid freeze on illegal immigrants in California. Okay, well, that goes against what Hakeem just said. Earlier this month, when the big, beautiful bill was in the House, there was a report saying that the Democrats were ready to defend Medicaid coverage for illegal immigrants. Sounds like federal money to me. In 2024, the IG for the HHS, the Health and Human Services Division, issued a report that said California improperly claimed $52.7 million for capitation payments. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, but made on the behalf of non-citizens with unsatisfactory immigration status, which basically said the money got funneled to illegal immigrants.
Is that a fancy way of saying illegal immigrants?
Yes, I think it is. It's for people with master's degrees. I think they have to. And lastly, on October 24th of last year, this is during Biden was still president and the election hadn't happened yet, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, issued a paper saying that Medicaid spending on illegal immigrants has cost taxpayers over $16.2 billion under the Open Borders Czar leadership of Kamala Harris. So there you go.
The Open Borders Czar. Yeah, because she sure wasn't the border. It's the open border, right? Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
And the capitation limits, I'm sure glad it wasn't the decapitation limits.
Even though
that could mean something totally different.
it's still on the table. I mean, I'm not against it 100%.
Yeah, play the guy anyway. Now that we've got all the stuff that's sped up, just because he's just this guy is great to follow.
I'd have to go find it. I don't have it anymore.
Oh, you just had it a second ago.
Well, I know, but I had clipped off part of it and I forgot the beginning of it. So,
never mind. That's okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there's been a word floating around for quite a while now, and it's got worldwide attention. It's called globalize the Intifada. And if you're not familiar with what all that means, in Arabic, Intifada simply means to rise up or to shake off. But in reality, lately, it's been meant to riot and has been used by the Muslims for many, many years. But globalize the Intifada really started being used more during the Gulf War. It started in 2003, in the Arab Spring back in 2010 and 2011. The understood meaning of this now, of course, things change. The meaning of things change. It means to get rid of the Jews from Israel and basically exterminate them. Which is obviously a terrible thing to wish for. But what that's doing is laying the groundwork for what we're seeing today. The two young Israeli embassy staffers, the girl was from Kansas originally, but I believe she was living in Israel now. The names were Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgrim. They were killed leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. Batya Ungar Sorgan actually talked about the details with, I think it was Fox News the other day. So here's that.
I want to just make a point about the victims here. Sarah Milgrim is a Kansas City girl, and Yaron Lishinsky, his father is Jewish, but he is a devout Christian. And this love story between them very much represents the history of America, that love story between Jews and Christians, American Christians being, of course, the first population in human history to organize their religion and their country around the protection of Jews, around cherishing Jews, rather than oppressing us. So for them to have been gunned down, this Jewish girl from Kansas City and this devout Christian, because he threw his lot in with the Jews on American soil, this is a crime against everything our nation has stood for since its founding, because this country has always protected its Jews. And to this day, American working class people, middle class people stand with the Jewish people and stand with Israel. On the other side, you have what you were talking about. You have this young man who has a college education, whose manifesto reads like a bad English paper, who was chanting the exact chants in the exact cadence that you hear it on university campuses across this country. I mean, what did they think globalize the Intifada meant? It meant this. And so you're completely correct that this is homegrown terrorism that was born up through this university to Tentifada pipeline, and this is the result. And of course, that is not to take away anybody's free speech rights. Everybody has a free speech right, to say whatever they want. But I would just ask my fellow Americans, do you think it is right to ask Jewish students to show up on a college campus where they have to hear the same chants in the same cadence that came out of the mouth of a terrorist right after he murdered two people because they stood with the Jews or were Jews? The answer to that is no.
Of course, she's so right. I mean, we talked about this in the promo. I'd never understood the hatred towards anybody just because of what family they were born in or whatever.
To go through life and just carry this big bag of hatred with you all the time has got to make life just miserable.
Yeah.
We don't wish hate on anybody. We make fun of folks and whatever. We don't hate anybody.
No, of course not.
So it's just sad what took place and how this
hatred for the Jewish nation has been around for thousands of years. So, I mean, it's nothing new necessarily. But, of course, after the shooter's arrest, we're not going to be using his name on here. We're not going to promote anybody's name in any way, shape, or form. But he said he did it for Palestine. So, I mean, he's not covering anything up. He did it because, and he had been seen earlier that day at a rally shouting globalize the Intifada. Basically, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That if you look at the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, in between that land they're talking about is all Israel. So I mean, the hatred, like you said, I just don't understand.
I just don't get it. And it's not that we don't want these types of people in our country. Most of the Muslim countries want nothing to do with these people.
Yeah.
They are just terrible. I mean, they built a big wall in Egypt so that they couldn't. We talk about who's building a wall to keep people. They trying to keep the Palestinian people out of Egypt because they would just get in and ruin everything.
Absolutely, walls have worked for thousands of years. Again, they've built them around cities and around countries for a long, long time. Unfortunately, because there's savages out there. More stuff is coming out on this couple too. She had recently converted to Christianity and was getting baptized when they got back to Israel. And plus the guy, Yaron, he actually bought a ring to propose to her also. So he was 30 and she was 26. It's a very, very sad story. But hopefully people gain a little common sense and stop all the hatred. Gosh, I just can't stand it. Anyway, we are up against a break again. When we come back, we're going to hear from Dr. Peter McCullough. He was up he was on Capitol Hill somewhere. Anyway, he was talking about the vid vaccine. The jab, whatever you want to call it. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast will be right back.
This message is for Karina, our mom who finished her high school diploma at age 28. Hi, Mom. It's Emmettith and Nicholas. Congratulations on getting your diploma. You worked so hard and have taught us so much. We love you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3, and lots of people upset. Wait a minute, where am I here? I went to the wrong thing.
Are you reading the right one?
No, I did not do the right one. Well, let's start off this one. It makes my non-myocarditic heart good. Is that a word? Myocarditic? I don't know. It is now.
I don't know, but it sounds important.
See, it sounds like I'm educated, so we'll stick with it. It makes that little heart happy. The COVID evilness we all witnessed is not going away. They're actually still talking about it in Congress. And the great Dr. Peter McCullough, he was outspoken the whole time that everything was going on with COVID. He was on Capitol Hill recently, and he had this to say.
When someone signs consent for a vaccine, Senator Blumenthal, does the consent form say it's going to save their lives? Of course it doesn't. It's not on the FAQ. There's never been a prospective, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial ever showing that COVID-19 vaccines reduce mortality or hospitalization. There's not even a valid non-randomized study. Thankfully, COVID mortality went down for 3 reasons. Because we all got the infection, vaccinated and unvaccinated, so we developed population natural immunity. We developed early treatment. Credit to Operation Warp Speed. We used all the Operation Warp Speed tools, additional drugs. We treated patients with multi-drug protocols at home so they don't go to the ER. So Governor Green never saw the patients we treated because they were successfully treated at home. And the third reason is that the virus mutated to a much milder form. Those things happen concurrently with rollout of the vaccine. The vaccine cannot be falsely credited.
We had some people around here that got it early on, and the doctor actually told them before the hydroxychloroquine was banned and the ivermectin was banned, they told them to go home and take vitamin C and I don't know, a couple of things over the counter. And man, within a couple of days, they were over it. Now, it affects everybody differently, but, I don't know.
It was the part that really irritates me is they went so far as not just to ban ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. They went and rounded it up. You had to, it was like on a recall type thing, and then put it in a warehouse where you were not able to get at it. Okay, you just wanted to, we were talking about this yesterday, and somebody, another couple that was there, and they had a friend that had got the pokey, and pretty much a hokey pokey is what it was.
Pretty much.
It was a lot of hokum. They were dead within 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
It just certain people, it just way over affects the heart, and it just grows and then blows up. Essentially, is what it does.
It clogs up your arteries with that stringy stuff that we've seen in the videos.
Well, they shut down. They were gonna, if any more embalmers were talking about it. They go, we can't even embalm anybody. We have this stuff we have to stop and clean out our machine 3 and 4 times just to get someone embalmed because of all just looks like stringy worms stuck in their machine that was a mess. And they were starting to speak out about it, and they shut them down and said, if you talk anymore, you will lose your business license. That's just what they did. They threatened people who were telling the truth.
Yeah.
In our country, this is not some dictatorship somewhere. It was the dictatorship we had at the time.
Yeah.
So
sounded very much like Lenin in the Soviet Union. I mean, it was like, we're just not going to.
Well, you can't talk about that. Well, why? Why not? That's what's happening. Nope. You would get no. You can't talk about this.
People got deplatformed. People lost their jobs. People, I mean, just by questioning, even if you just asked a question. What drove me crazy is when people who were sick, like for the 3rd time in 6 months with COVID, and they'd be out for like a week or 2 for each time they were sick. Their answer was that, well, think about how much worse it would have been if I didn't get the vaccine.
No, I heard that. I can't tell you how many times.
Gotta be kidding
I know people that were getting the quote unquote, it's not even a vaccine, getting the jabber, and then they would get the not the bonus shot. What is it?
The booster. Booster.
Thank you. It started with a B, and all that came out was bonus. Well, that's not really what
it's
it is.
in there. The B's in there.
But would get the booster, and then all of a sudden they're sick again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? It didn't stop anybody from getting anything.
No.
It was a total joke.
And that's
it was the flu, because there were no flu episodes for like, what, 2 years?
I just saw
flu
that.
just magically went away.
It went to like 15,000 cases in 1 year. And normally it was in the 30s and 40s. 40 million people flew. Yeah. And all of a sudden it went away. But you know,
what seems wrong about this picture?
And we talked about this before, but I think it's worth repeating. And I can't remember what they call the vaccines that are like for polio, where you get it and you're not going to get polio. You're not going to get TB or whatever. You know, those are I can't remember the word for it. But anyway, then they have the therapeutic, which are like the flu vaccines and stuff. Well, you know, if you get it, it won't be quite so bad. But they started out saying, once you get this, we've got audio of Joe Biden and Fauci, little Fauci, saying the same thing, that once you got this shot, you're going to be good. And tons of
your
media
grandma
people
won't get infected, and she'll be able to live a long life. In the meantime, you got people in old folks' homes dropping like flies.
Oh, especially in New York, and that hasn't gone away yet either.
And that's coming up right now too.
Yeah.
He's being called on the carpet for that stuff
because he wants that mayorship of New York City. Cuomo does.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Oh yeah, got to get back. That's the only job he knows how to do, is be a politician.
But anyway, they sold us the vaccine as saying, once you get this, you're not going to get, and all the media was along with it, you're not going to get the COVID. You're not going to get, it's just going away. Then they tried to make it where it sounded like it was more therapeutic. Well, if you get it, it won't be quite so bad. Turned out none of that was true. I mean, it was
you just got it more often.
Exactly. Yeah, because everybody who's had it multiple times has had the shots.
Yep. Every single person I know of that, we're sick again. It tested COVID. It's like, what? Didn't you get the...
I saw on social media about a month ago, somebody was still testing themselves for COVID. Oh, I'm sick again. I got COVID. How do you know you got COVID? I mean, since when do we ever have an illness that you got to take a test to know you got it, first of all?
Somebody I know had about 10 of these tests. How he come about them, didn't have to pay for them, got them somehow. It's like, if you need to test, you don't need to... What?
Yeah. They still sell the tests at Kroger. I was in there the other day. I saw the big rack of them. Nobody's buying them. They've probably been there. The expiration date was 2022 probably, but I mean.
Well, you have to go and rub off the dust that's on the top and go, oh, yeah, well, that expired
It
back then.
might have been a 2-for-1 sale. I mean, I don't know. I didn't even look at
Like
it.
some of the seasonings and stuff we use in our house is like, gee, we haven't used this in a while. I'm curious. What's the date on it? Oh, well, it only expired in 2019. It's still good.
I just bought some chicken tender type things, whatever they're called, tenderloins. And the reason they were on sale is because they expired. Well, when I bought them, it was the day that I bought them, they expired. But it was like, you're going to cook the things anyway. They're not that bad. It's not like they're, a month late. I mean, you're going to be, they always overcorrect on that. So.
Like the package is all blowed up like a balloon. It's like,
kind of nice.
It might be good. Hey, it's 40% off.
We'll just cook it a little longer, honey. It's going to be all right. Here, taste this. Let me see. Does this taste funny to you?
It. Oh, no. You taste it. I'm not going to taste it. You taste it. Yeah. That conversation has happened.
Try Mikey. Anyway.
Hey, look, he didn't fall to the floor. It must be good.
Yeah, his eyes rolled in the back of his head for a minute, but he seems fine now.
It was only temporary.
Oh, my gosh. Let's see.
Wow, did that go off the rails?
Yeah, sure did. Lots of people are still upset that Congressman LaMonica McIver, she's that New Jersey congresswoman that's been charged with assaulting a federal law enforcement officer during a wild scene outside of an ICE detention facility there in New Jersey. I guess the mayor of whatever city it was in, I can't remember what city it was in, they're not going to charge him because apparently he didn't slug anybody, but this congresswoman did, and
is on video doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, it seems like it was all for political posturing, to make it look like they're for the little guy or whatever. But the brilliant Scott Jennings wasn't having any of it.
The little crooked guy.
Yeah. He was on CNN and being a thorn in the side of the people on CNN normally, throwing common sense and logic at him again. Here's that.
What?
So we're worried about people in one party and criminally investigating people in another party now?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
That's good to know.
These are enemies to people who have been very outspoken against Trump, regardless of political party affiliation.
To Ellie, you listen. There's evidence in all three cases. McIver, there's a video. If you went to a facility and put your hands on a federal agent, you might be in jail right now. Number two, or me too, a regular person. Number two, on Cuomo, pretty strong evidence.
There's also been multiple investigations on Cuomo, including by the IG.
Number three. On Tish James, I was under the impression that in the state of New York, if you mess up some paperwork, whatever, around some kind of a financial transaction, that was worthy of 34 felonies. And so I'm just saying, all these people have done things. I think they're worthy of investigation. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but they're not being targeted because they're Democrats. They're being targeted because there's lots of evidence.
Okay.
Okay.
He was not letting it get. Well, I'm thinking and trying to give your no. You're. Why are the Democrats dying on this hill, going out there and supporting criminals?
I don't know.
What part is that not really generally good for politics?
Again, even Hakeem Jeffries said, "Don't do this, and no more trips to El Salvador." I mean, it's like
so instead you go to New Jersey you go to Jersey because it's closer.
Yeah, because nobody cares about New Jersey. I think. No offense to our
but
listeners.
She's going, I didn't do that. I'm sorry. Let's go to the tape, Phil. Let's go to the tape. It's like she is just whamming and shoving and beating on it. It's like, what is wrong with you, lady?
She's just out of control. If you see the video, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I think if you just go to YouTube, I think you'd be able to find it. McIver, MCIVER, and you'll be able to find it. But yeah,
MICI. Anyway.
We'll have to wait and see how that goes. I don't know. I'd love to see kind of her get her comeuppance.
Well, all these they're doing stuff the way they did when they knew nobody's going to arrest us, nobody's going to do anything. Well, that was under a former regime, and Just call it that.
Yeah.
And I ain't the way it's working nowadays, folks.
No, it's, and if there is a little bit of turnabout, foul, whatever, they went towards Trump so hard for him not to kind of go back at them and say, look, you're going to play by the rule of law. We're going to play by the rule of law. So I'm okay with that.
No one is above the law,
That's
except if you're a Democrat and you're out protesting and just don't worry about it.
Of course, Letitia James is adding on, but, it was just a mistake. I thought he was my husband, but it ended up being my father. And
I put his name on the wrong line. No, you didn't.
If you were from
It looked
Alabama,
like
if you get your husband screwed up with your father, I might buy it. But yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Sure.
You hear banjo music, you need to take cover. When we come back, CNN's Jake Tapper and Axios reporter Alex Thompson were being interviewed, and you're not going to believe how this went. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
I'm Charmaine Davies, and if you're looking for a new podcast to listen to, I suggest you stay off my lawn. Well, no, not my lawn. It's a podcast called Stay Off My Lawn, which is absolutely brilliant. It's funny, it's informative. The guys that present it are just amazing. So that's everything you need in a podcast, I think. So go over to Stay Off My Lawn. It's brilliant. Make it your guilty pleasure. It's definitely mine.
Are you distraught after the recent presidential election? Here at Don't Cry Cryo, we understand your pain, and we're here to help. Our expert team of cryogenic care providers can cryogenically freeze you until the Trump presidency has ended. No more crying. No more anxiety attacks, just blissful sleep until Trump is gone. When you awaken from your slumber, we'll even have a party ready and waiting for you. It will be like his presidency never even happened. It was all just a bad dream. As an added bonus, you can choose the Vance add-on package. We'll extend your sleep for an additional 4 years at a 50% discount in the event J.D. Vance wins the next presidential election. Everything will be okay. We're here to take care of you in your time of need. So remember, don't cry, cryo.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. Almost time to go home. Oh, we are home. Never mind.
I am in my box, as the wife says when I walk by her. She goes, drive safe. As I walk by in the living room. So, yeah, she hasn't had to put up with me yet today.
Watch out for the popo. They're out there in force this week. It's a holiday week. CNN's Jake Tapper and Axios reporter Alex Thompson, if you forgot, they are making the rounds touting their book this week called Original Sin. It's about how the media, including these two, for goodness sake, tried to cover up the Biden's
I don't think
diminished
they ever
cognition.
implemented themselves, did they?
I don't think so.
There are people who have reminded them that they did that, but I'm not sure they implicated themselves in this. It was them over there, those guys. Typical leftists. Point fingers and blame everywhere. Find a mirror and point those fingers. There you go. That's who it is.
The best thing that Tapper did, where he said, well, I missed it. It's like, what do you mean you missed it? You didn't miss nothing. You were part of the cover-up, just like the copy and paste media.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So anyway, he was. They were being interviewed on Katie Couric's podcast called Next Question. I didn't even know she was still doing anything. She was kind of a, I heard Clay Travis and Buck Sexton talk about this the other day. When she was younger, she was kind of a good looking woman, I thought. She has not aged all that well either, but when she was younger, Buck didn't think she was good looking when she was younger. I think she was very good looking when she was younger, but hey, what do I know? I've heard some people say Hillary Clinton.
I've had the same wife for almost 50 years. I would have no clue. I look at nothing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Woo, man, the nose, you're pushing your microphone out of the way.
It just almost.
Anyway, Katie Couric asked them a question, and this about the subject of Hunter came up. We'll put it that way.
How big a factor was the Hunter
stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I'm just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too. Really,
a real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
I mean,
driving the family car,
especially since he was inebriated in whatever capacity.
Wow. Yeah, we have no idea whose cocaine that was they found in the White House. Shocking.
Oh, I know. They can find out, whatever happened somewhere halfway around the world, but they can't figure out who put the cocaine in the White House. Just insane to me.
That's where I left it. I knew I put it down somewhere.
Well, let's see. Let's interview the guy who likes cocaine. Let's do that. I mean, it seems like that would shorten the pool down a little bit. I mean, but I don't know. But yeah,
I noticed pictures of Hunter toward the end of the term. His eyes were just like really wide and looking at stuff, and I'm going,
He's not sober.
He hasn't kicked the habit at all.
No, I would be very surprised if he did. But then again, over the years of all the crap that he'd shot in his veins, I mean, who knows whether that's just his normal look anymore. I mean,
well, it could be.
It could be. But I've seen pictures of him and his mother kind of running cabinet meetings and just sitting there having the floor in the White House. What in the world?
You mean his stepmom?
Or his stepmom?
Is she his mom or?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think Ashley was the only daughter of Jill. Yeah. So you're right. I think he was, because he looks more like Bo and everything. So he's probably from the first wife. Yeah. And that's shady too. But yeah, but they were sitting there running cabinet meetings. I'm like, who in the world? I mean, I've never, there's, since I was a little one, I remember thinking that people would criticize the first lady for being too involved in different things. Nancy Reagan, Pat Nixon. I mean, you can go back all the way to when, as far as I can remember, that they're too involved. But this woman took it to a whole nother level to me.
Oh, a whole nother. Well, it goes back to, and a lot of people, don't check on history stuff, but you go all the way back to Wilson and, hey, Mr. Wilson. Anyway, he was
Dennis the Menace reference for everybody who does.
You had to fill that in.
Yeah, I did.
I'm guessing the average age of our listener. Well, they probably understood that one.
They should know.
But you go back to Wilson was a horrible progressive, and that's why we have the Federal Reserve now, is because of him. And he had gotten cancer, and they were treating him for stuff. And his wife ran the cabinet meetings and everything else. Nobody knew anything about it till after his terms were up, because he did go 2 full terms, but he was a horrible progressive. And that's why we have the income tax. That's why we've got the Federal Reserve.
That's right. The income tax was supposed to be temporary, but it sure didn't work out that way. What years was
temporary?
what year was
the
that?
Early 1900s. I do apologize. I cannot remember the actual dates, but he was not a good guy.
No, not at all. He was racist. He was a terrible person for sure. So anyway, and so Hunter and Dr. Jill, and all I can think of is Whoopi Goldberg saying, well, she's a great doctor. She's got a doctorate in education or something. I mean, I don't know what.
Did she get the education for the doctorate, or was that an honorary? You're a doctor of whatever, that they give out every once in a while.
Apparently I don't know. Apparently she's the kind of person that demands to be called doctor. My wife worked with somebody like that because they got a doctorate in education. It's like, well, call me doctor. And she changed the letterhead, everything. It's like, okay.
My son-in-law has a doctorate degree also, and he goes, please don't call me doctor. He doesn't want to. Said, I just got the education. It helps with what he's doing. And
Sure. It helps you publish papers, I guess. But I mean, at the same time, you put yourself in with the same, like Dr. Ben Carson or something. You're not in the same category. It's just
no. It's just a little bit of difference.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, after all that, we probably need a palate cleanser.
Please. Yes, please.
My tongue scraper's in the other room, so we'll have to play this.
It's right next to my depressor.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, hopefully we don't mix them up. That and the rectal thermometer, they're all in the same cup. Anyway, we have a rest of the story about a clockmaker that made a pretty interesting invention. You're gonna like this. Here is Paul Harvey.
Now, the rest of the story. Alexander Bain was a scientific psychologist. In an era when the study of the human mind combined philosophy and metaphysics, and almost half a century before Sigmund Freud would try to say everything was a symbol of something else, Alexander Bain was talking sense. Well over 100 years ago, he told us that the mind and the body were inextricably interrelated, that mental disorders often had physiological bases, that mental illness was physical illness. He called upon his colleagues to persist in this study in that time when the mentally ill were swept under rugs and stashed in attics and incarcerated in warehouses for the damned. Within his community in that pre-Freudian age, Alexander Bain was mostly loved, sometimes hated, always celebrated. And except for his considerable celebrity, he has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the story. For there was another Alexander Bain, not nearly so well known, a man deserving of recognition among his contemporaries, yet lacking it, at least in part because of a tall shadow cast by his namesake, the renowned scientific psychologist. This other Alexander Bain was a Scottish clockmaker's apprentice turned inventor who created electric fire alarms and electric chronographs, who greatly advanced the burgeoning science of telegraphy. His contribution, in other words, was far from insignificant, and yet surprisingly little is known about him. In practically all biographical anthologies from which one might derive some information relating to Alexander Bain, the inventor, one finds instead an impressive collection of details surrounding the life and work of Alexander Bain, the psychologist, a completely different fellow. This much of the lesser Bain is known. The most important invention of his life he patented in 1843. Remember that date now, 1843. And he received 7,000 pounds for it. But while he might then have lived rather comfortably, he was instead taken promptly to court on one matter after another, and what money was left over from his extensive, expensive litigation, he drank up. What I'm saying is the limelight that he might have enjoyed was swallowed up by a private darkness not even his brilliance could illumine. And thus ended the creative career of the other Alexander Bain in ironic and undeserved anonymity. You'll find his name mentioned, if at all, only briefly in any biographical dictionary. But the reason this generation, you and I, ought to care about this other Alexander Bain has to do with that 1843 patent in the field of telegraphy. For it was then that Bain devised a stylus attached to a pendulum which could skim and raise metallic letters, then send a stream of electrical pulses by wire to a synchronized receiver. Facsimile transmission, it's called. And yes, that does mean precisely what you think it means. A barely remembered inventor named Alexander Bain, who was to die utterly broke in 1877, 34 years previous, in 1843, had received 7,000 pounds and virtually no recognition for his patent on an original creation, which I'll bet you thought was new. The fax machine. The fax machine. Now you know the rest of the story.
Oh, my goodness. Without electricity, without any of that, it's just incredible.
Well, that was your telegraph and and it was connecting stuff. And to think now that a fax, what's a fax machine?
I used to fix them back in the late 80s, early 90s when I first got married. I used to fix
they're
copiers
still
and fax
around to send medical images and that. Sometimes they use fax because it will go through and they can see it, it's supposedly more secure and whatever. But kids today, what's a fax machine?
The billing department, as a matter of fact, in Emory Hospital has to communicate with my insurance company through fax. They have to, They don't take emails.
It's pretty much still in the medical industry is about the only place I hear people, well, a little bit insurance too. So like you're saying, so it's this story was done so long ago that was the newfangled thing was a fax machine. A what? What is that?
It's like hearing an advertisement for a car that's got air conditioning and power windows and power steering. Really? Oh.
At one time I had to send a fax to somebody. I had to download the program and make sure that it was working, and you're plugged into a phone line, and instead of don't anybody get on the internet. I'm trying to send this.
That's right.
And then it was done.
It wasn't even that long ago, though. I remember when I'd come home from work and I'd have to pay a bill or something. I'd turn on the computer and hook up to AOL, and then I'd go up and rinse out my dishes from the night before from when I was working. And by the time 5-10 minutes went by, I brushed my teeth and everything went downstairs, and I was online finally.
You got mail.
That's right. That guy just died not too long ago, too, I think. The guy who did the voice for that.
They were a big time making money hand over fist, and things changed, and they didn't change with them.
Not at all.
There are still people. I have relatives that I send stuff to. It's got an AOL address.
There's somebody in the voiceover industry that I've talked to back and forth, and they've got an AOL address.
Yes, and they're who is it?
I can't remember who it was.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And they're biggie in the industry, essentially. And Uncle Roy, I think, still has
maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
He still has. That's who it is, who's got an AOL. I went, really? He goes, well, I've had it forever. It works.
Hey, as long as the site's still up there, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, well, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, Rumble, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you'll find us every Thursday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. Enjoy us on your drive home. Or, you know what? You can just go to our good old website at Stay Off My Lawn.
.us.
You told me you were ready. Apparently you forgot.
I was ready during the promo. I wasn't ready for this. We're not going to fix that in post either. So.
No, you're going to get what you get. That's it, folks. We don't go to any extra effort.
No, they don't pay me enough.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you.
That's right. We'll see you next week.
Toodles. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.